So let's start with the big story that we are tracking on WION. The members of President Donald Trump's cabinet have now sent detailed secret information on the strikes on Houthis to a journalist. This after he was accidentally added to a group chat. While the administration has acknowledged the messages seem to be authentic, the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has denied that any American military plans to bomb Yemen were shared and has tried to discredit the American journalist in question. Now, Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, has claimed that he was added to a Signal text group in which Pete Hegseth and others planned military strikes. Now, Goldberg revealed it in a first-hand account that was published in The Atlantic. The report claims that he knew about the strikes on the Houthis hours before they even took place. Now, the journalist said that he was added to the group chat 2 days earlier and then started receiving messages from other top government officials, designated representatives who would work on the issue. The report further said that Pete Hegseth, the American Defense Secretary, had texted the war plan in that chat group on Signal 2 hours before the actual American strikes on Yemen. The journalist further mentioned that while he initially thought this was some kind of a prank, the reality hit him when the United States actually started bombing Yemen just hours after those messages were received on that Signal chat group. He further said that National Security Advisor Mike Waltz had convened the text conversation to discuss these attacks on the Houthis in Yemen. He claimed that National Security Advisor Mike Waltz had convened the text conversation to discuss these attacks on Yemen. Now, Signal, remember, is not approved by the US government for sharing sensitive information. However, Pete Hegseth has denied these claims, saying that no one had texted any war plans on the group. He went on to criticize the journalist as deceitful and has accused him of repeatedly spreading hoaxes.
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does.
But Goldberg doubled down on his claims and told that Hegseth had sent the details of the American bombings. Hegseth told CNN in an interview that this included precise information about the weapons packages that were to be used, the targets that were to be hit, and also the timing of the American strikes. Now, according to The Atlantic, the chat group had top senior US officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and the Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, and the White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and the CIA Director John Ratcliffe, the who's who of the Trump cabinet. According to the details shared by Goldberg, Vance expressed doubts about carrying out these attacks, saying that he hated bailing Europe out, as countries there were more affected by Houthi attacks. A person identified as SM, possibly Trump's advisor Stephen Miller, that the US needed to extract some further economic gains in return. National Security Council spokesperson Brian Hughes has said that the message thread that was reported appears to be pretty authentic. The US president said that he did not know anything about the issue.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis?
Right.
Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time.
The Democrat lawmakers have now swiftly blasted the misstep, saying that it is a breach of U.S. national security and a violation of law that must be investigated by the Congress.
This text chain conversations went at length about imminent military operations, including specific targets, weapons, and attack plans. These text messages very likely included classified U.S. intelligence. And the entire time, nobody seemed to realize that a private citizen without security clearance had access to this conversation. Mr. President, this is one of the most stunning breaches of military intelligence I have read about in a very, very long time.